I'm Bryan Hartson, and welcome to the Bryan Hartson Show. I'm glad that you're here with me this evening. It is actually fast approaching midnight as we're recording this segment right now. So today was a very impactful and powerful day for me. So first of all, I want to talk to you a little bit about COVID and segregation, and if you've been vaccinated, where you can sit and where you can go, how to prove that you've been vaccinated or not, and is it valid? You're also going to want to stay with me for the rest of the show, because coming up after that, we're going to talk about our students, first graders, and what is being taught to them in first grade, 5 years old, and their bodies, and the bodies of the opposite sex as well. And finally, we do want to talk about Facebook. I used it as a tool for me to gain some information, and we're going to talk about life insurance and the COVID virus. So I hope you're ready to sit back and enjoy our time together. I have no reason to be dressed up tonight. I don't have any guests. It is us. So let's go ahead and take our seats. Let's see what this segment has for us. Glad you're with me. And thank you for joining me for the Bryan Hartson Show. And we're going to get right into it today, ladies and gentlemen. We've got some important stuff to talk about tonight. I have no guests, as I just said. Tonight is just you and me talking about stuff that's come up today. Today, I was in my house this afternoon, and one after another hit me. First up, I want to talk about the coronavirus vaccine, being vaccinated, entitlement segregation. First, I'm going to play this clip for you, so stay with me here. I'm going to talk about it. You tell me what you think.
The Bryan Hartson Show. No suit today. I'm at home. I just got through watching the news and watching Tucker Carlson, and he was talking today about how there's going to be separation from those who are vaccinated against those who aren't vaccinated. So those that are vaccinated will get a neat little watch. And what's neat about the watch is it'll have a QR code on it. And on that QR code, if you have the vaccine, it'll show up and you can go sit in preferred seating with everybody else. Now, if you don't have the vaccine or you don't have that cute little watch, you've got to go sit in the penalty box with everybody else. So I just thought I'd do this for you guys and let you know how easy this is. So this is my phone, and as you can see, I have a watch. Well, look at what happens here when I do this, and I do this. You watching? Oh my gosh, it says right here, can you see what it says? Bryan Hartson is certified vaccinated 2022 for COVID. There it is. There's my watch. That's it. That's how simple it is, guys. This is ridiculous. Do you really want to go down this path now that you have to have a watch that tells you that you're vaccinated or not vaccinated? Because it won't work. I just proved it inside of 5 minutes from Dr. Carlson to now. So there you go. There's my tip for the day. See you guys on the next show. On the Bryan Hartson Show.
And there you have it. So that hit me early this evening. I was concerned when I saw that. The whole show opened up talking about concerts and sports events and how they're going to have this watch, and I still have my watch. There it is. You can see it. There we go. Now you can see it. So you have this watch with the QR code, and it'll pop up and say that you've been vaccinated once or twice or whatever it is, and you get to go sit and watch your game or your concert up front, cushy with a whole bunch of people. Now, the person that doesn't get to go sit up front, no matter how much money they have or are going to pay for anything, is the same person that is in the boat with the person that has had COVID and not had the shot, because they're not going to have this wonderful little thing there. Of course, there's always the option of going and having an antibody test, and then who knows what happens with that. But that seems sort of cumbersome. At least it does to me. I mean, I'm not vaccinated for a cold or a flu because that's my choice. My choice. If I get the flu, I get the flu. I had the flu. I made it out okay, but I made the choice not to go get myself a vaccination for the flu, the common flu. We know that the vaccine does very little damage to our young adults and our children and our infants. We know that. It's a fact. We also know that when somebody has had the vaccine, that there is a chance, very small as it may be, that they will get the COVID virus, even though they have the vaccine. And there's even a smaller chance that of that population, there's a good number of people that actually die from the vaccine. Well, from COVID, really. Even though they had vaccine is really what I meant to say. So excuse me. Don't fact check me on that because I messed up. I apologize for that. So I watched it. It took me a minute to see what was happening. And you saw, I had to do an impromptu part of the show right there where I just went and did what I did really quick off the top of my head. And I'm not the smartest banana in the bunch. There's a lot of more people out there that are a lot more smarter than I am, going to figure a way around all of this stuff. It took me 2 minutes to do that. What is the purpose of these bans with a QR code that lets you get into a sporting events over somebody else? I'm the full supporter. If you want to have the vaccine, go get the vaccine so you don't get COVID, hopefully. Me, I personally don't want to take the vaccine. That may come back to bite me someday. Maybe I'll die. I don't know. Right now I'm doing okay. I've gone through a flu. I'm okay. Don't know if I've had COVID in the past. Don't have the antibody test, but I know that I'm doing okay. I take my precautions, and everybody that is at risk absolutely should be taking their precautions, but that's up to them, right? Masks don't stop you from getting it. They help prevent you from spreading it, as minuscule as it is, if at all. I think that has been proven as defunct as well, but that's an interesting little thing. So I wanted to share that with you tonight. So that's why we're recording so late tonight. But then on the heels of that, on the heels of Tucker Carlson, here comes Hannity. Hannity really got me scratching my head tonight. This next bit that I'm going to play for you, if you have children in the room, you might want to out. You don't have to, but it is talking about some explicit stuff with masturbation, with and just watch, just watch, and then we'll talk about it. We'll talk about it for a minute, okay? So just watch.
Pass it, Squeaks!
Whoa! Watch it! You almost hit me in the pee-pee! What's so funny, you two?
He said pee-pee.
Do you notice that when you say pee-pee, you giggle, but when you say penis, you say it in a serious voice?
I never noticed that before.
Some children and adults feel uncomfortable when they talk about their private parts, so they make up cute or funny names for them.
What's one for a girl's private parts?
Vajayjay! But what does Scoops mean when he says vajayjay?
He means vulva.
That's right, Kayla. It's important to use the proper words for our private parts.
Why?
Because our private parts are just as amazing as our hearts, lungs, brains, or any other of our amazing body parts.
But our hearts pump blood, our lungs breathe, and our brains think.
All our private parts do is pee. That's not entirely true, Scoops. It is true that a person pees or urinates through a hole called the urethra in the penis.
Does everyone have a urethra?
They do. It can be harder to see, but girls have a tiny hole in the front of the vulva where urine comes out from their urethra. Urination is actually very important. It helps us get rid of waste, stuff our body doesn't need.
Hey, how come my penis gets big sometimes and points up in the air?
That's called an erection.
Sometimes I touch my penis because it feels good.
Sometimes when I'm in my bath or when Mom puts me to bed, I like to touch my vulva too.
You have a clitoris there, Kayla, that probably feels good to touch the same way Keith's penis feels good when he touches it. But have you ever noticed that older kids and grown-ups don't touch their private parts in public?
They don't?
That's right, Keith. It's okay to touch yourself and see how different body parts feel, but it's best to only do it in private.
Well, if private parts are so special, why do you cover them up?
Because they are private, silly.
That's right, Kayla, because they are private.
Hey, Squeaks, pass it.
Wait! Okay, I'm ready!
And there you go. I wanted to play the entire thing for you so nobody can say that we cut it up and sliced it to what we want. That is something that is being taught in schools today. Granted, I'm not sure it's being taught in public schools, but we do know for a fact that it's being taught in a private school. And we're talking about first grade. We're talking about 5-year-olds. We're talking about penises and stiff penises and vulvas and touching ourselves. And I was a little offended when the video said, well, when your mom puts you to bed and you touch yourself because it feels good. I was also a little offended when it said, you got to touch yourself in private. So what it's teaching our kids from a third party, from an administration, a school, privately funded, $55,000 a year for the kids to learn this stuff, plus the grants that they're getting and what have you for another X amount of hundreds of thousands of dollars. But they're teaching our kids about sex. Plain and simple, masturbation. That's a form of sexual release at 5 years old. We just went through talking about children of this age being able to decide whether they wanted to be a male or a female or have an operation or have hormones. That baffled me in and of itself. This baffles me even more that this is being taught across the board at the school to first graders. And it baffles me that they would encourage the children to do it in private. See, when a third person comes along and tells your child what they should do secretly on their own when they're in bed at night, which maybe it never crossed their mind before, probably didn't. Do it in private. Do it while you're alone. Do it in private. That's setting up a trust factor between this teacher, if that's what you want to call them, and a student that is far beyond that of a student-teacher relationship. I mean, quite frankly, if a teacher were to be talking to a student, maybe a little bit older, about masturbating, what it feels like, I think that teacher would probably be in an awful lot of hot water. Probably fired, right? Because of the innuendo of sex and the initiation of sexual favors, sexual techniques. And again, masturbation is a technique of release. I would be upset if that were happening. And you know what? I've had a lot of people tell me already, not going to have my kids going to public school. Well, I wouldn't have them going to the private school. At least one that teaches this. And you should be outraged. And you may say, well, private school, I'm not going to worry about it. Think about it. Think about it. We just went through it with 5, 6-year-olds and whether they can make a decision whether they want to be a male or female, take hormones without parent consent. We are talking about giving vaccinations to our kids of that age without consent. Teacher says it's okay. It must be, then there must be an authoritative figure, right? No. Let me teach my kid about that sort of stuff. If I need your help, I'll ask you for it. I'll pay you for it. Oh wait, you're paying $55,000 a year for your kid to learn that in their student teachings as well. That's just disgusting. Disgusting. I'm disgusted. On to a little lighter note, if you will, changing the subject here. The third thing that came across my mind today was that of a comment that was made, and I got wind of it, and it said basically that if you have the uh, corona vaccine, that you won't get your life insurance paid out if you die. And that's exactly how it was posed to me. And I thought an interesting exercise would be to pose that to some of my friends on Facebook. And so I did that. And here's the question. The question is, and excuse me while I look over at some stuff here. The question is, I may be spreading, oh, this was me saying, I may be spreading a false true, but I don't feel like fact checking. I didn't. I get a lot of stuff that I got to fact check. I have people that send me stuff every day on Facebook. Say, oh, this is so and so's happening. Q's doing this, that, and the other. Trump, this, that. I guess today it's Trump's going to be back and be president by August because of the election results and all this sort of stuff. I don't have time to fact check all that sort of stuff. But this one was interesting, and I really didn't want to spend the time to fact check it. But I also wanted to see what kind of responses I would get from my friends on Facebook. Would it be consistent? Would it be knowledgeable? Would it be just I feel likes? And so I posed that question, and I actually want to spend a couple of minutes here actually reading some of these things verbatim. And here is what we've got. This is not true. If you get the vaccine, your life insurance policy is still valid. If you do not get the vaccine, your life insurance is still valid. Beneficiaries will receive their payout regardless if the insured gets a vaccine or not. And I'm reading the stuff verbatim. Here's another. True. As well, are not paying out on COVID deaths. Check with your broker. Every policy is different. Also a fact, almost all insurance policies are adding in exclusions for any claims with COVID regarding business. So I've got one that's one, and then I'm reading these verbatim, ladies and gentlemen, my friends. So the next one here, not true. How would the insurance company know whether or not you have the shot? I think that's a good question. Except medical records would tell that, where you just go to the game and take a scan of an arm from a watch. Okay, found this from the NAIC page 2. You may find it helpful. So I got a long document sent to me. I asked, what's the short read? I get a lot of documents sent to me. Short read. Life insurance policies cover death due to the pandemic. But I posted this before I realized I was answering the wrong question. Another friend. Not true. Then the request for, now this is where things start to heat up a little bit. Provide data and the sources. I absolutely agree with that right there. My friend that said that. Give me data and give me sources. And the reason why I'm a fan of that is because I am a data-driven person. You can tell me whatever you want to tell me, but if you can't back it up, it's not true. And if it is backed up by fact, I need to fact check it usually. That's like people saying Biden's the best president ever. Why? Because he's not Trump. But I can give 80,000 characters or 56 pages as to the things that Trump did over his first 4 years as president. And I'm still baffled to try and figure out what one thing Biden hasn't screwed up. I know, a little political on this one. I apologize. I know that should be staying on my other station, but I'm bringing it in, all right? I am. I did it. Okay, I'm asking for final thoughts here, and here's a little bit of a lengthy one. Specifically, you mentioned life insurance. Life insurance almost always covers pandemic-related deaths, with very few exceptions, usually related to accompanied incidences related to the pandemic deaths, such as suicide and panic actions. Running in front of a vehicle or other panic actions where another person legitimately was threatened by the person's panic action, like they were waving a gun or threatening others or was subsequently killed to protect others, and a few other similar instances. Now, there are COVID-related health insurance issues which may not be covered. That depends on the policy. Typically, a large business policy is a premium coverage, and most COVID costs would be covered. Smaller business policies, less than 50 employees. And some personal policies have more exclusions and may not be covered at all, may not cover all COVID-related costs, may contain higher premiums to be met before coverage kicks in. So we'll stop there. Basically, this exercise was to see where we all are on the information of one simple thing. Life insurance. When you die, do you have a policy? What does your policy say? And what happens if you die as a result of COVID? What happens if you die after you've had a shot for the vaccine? Can you get covered for life insurance? That's a big question. And I think in my little exercise here, that's a valid question. The question for you to ask yourself is, what are you going to do? My best advice to you, my friends, is to do your own fact checking. And anytime anybody tells you something, believe it with the statistics. And when the person says this person's just a great person because he sleeps all day, doesn't get any conflicts, um, do some fact checking on that. And yeah, what a day today has been. So I decided to go ahead and do my recording tonight. And I want to thank you for being with me. A little bit interesting, a little bit different than normal. For those of you that stayed through the whole program, I appreciate that. A little bit shorter than normal, about 8 minutes short, but I am glad that you were here. I'm glad I have somebody that I can talk to, being you, and I'm glad that we have this relationship where we can come back and do some more stuff. Always welcome your opinions. You're more than welcome to hop on over to Bryan Hartson, BRYANHARTSON, Hartson's HARTSONSHEART, Hartson's Heart.wordpress.com. You'll be able to catch a lot of our audios off of that website. You can order some of your wonderful little things, such as this handy dandy, beautiful little hat, the Bryan Hartson Show. We've got some polo shirts and what have you. So pop on over and buy yourself something. Have a great night. Question everything. And remember, as always, today is the first day of the rest of your life. Make today a great day and this moment count. I'm Bryan Hartson. Good night.